What am I looking at here? What is this? What am I looking at here?
This is a vivid imagination, I would say. And if this would be a feat of engineering and just like a wonder of the world if this became a reality. A moving glass wall that's like 100 to 200 yards
I would
wide.
just say, just be careful. If you need to consult with Jerry Jones, ask him about where the sun is and where your stadium is oriented, because you do not want to have a stadium sun problem.
To Las Vegas we go, and an extremely bold announcement. Star Vegas, a development, has secured $6 billion in funding through financing structure with an outfit called In Tickets We Trust. And a bidding process for an NBA expansion team is happening in Las Vegas, and that's open right now. But in amongst the plans is like a whole campus of stadiums, including soccer, basketball, concerts, combat sports, and more. The future home of professional sports in Las Vegas, according to the chief executive, Chuck Hafley. They are trying to make an ecosystem for year-round sports in Las Vegas.
So I didn't know about this until Rob brought it to my attention. I don't know how long this has been bouncing around, but you go to the website, which is Star with 2 R's. That extra R is for ridiculous. Star Vegas Development, leave the loss out, starvegasdevelopment.com if you want to see this plan. Again, how many billions? $10 billion?
$6 billion.
$6 billion total. Construction capital, $6 billion. I think there will be extra.
Well, they've raised $6 billion and the project cost is $10 billion. Excuse me.
Something like that. I don't know. But if you go to the website, they have 3 major points. Now, we only care about the soccer points, so I will bring in the soccer point because the other 2 I will tell you about. Number one, soccer is getting prioritized. I'm okay. I'm excited now. 50,000 seats, soccer and concert stadium, expandable to 60,000 for festivals. The anchor of the campus, designed for MLS and international soccer, configured equally for the concerts and events that bring Las Vegas its largest audiences. The sight lines, the acoustics, the turf, the stage, the infrastructure, all built to the highest specification. I did it, Rob. Specification. I'm sorry, you wouldn't have butchered that one, right?
I know how to say specification.
You do know how to say specification. 50,000 is a lot, Rob. There's no 50,000 seat soccer only stadium in the country, right? Obviously, Vegas already has a football stadium. They don't need to build that.
That's a big one.
So if you build a stadium for 50,000 seats, you would have the largest soccer-specific stadium in the country, right? Number 1 right now is, I believe, Geodis Park in Nashville, Tennessee.
Which is just a wild statement that Nashville has the biggest soccer stadium. No hate, which is interesting that of all cities, that's the one.
Well, I think they did that on purpose for concerts and for other events and, for maybe internationals, but not necessarily World Cup kind of level, because that doesn't meet the standard. I think 40,000, 45,000 is the minimum for FIFA, which is why you build 50,000 in Vegas if you want to get international games, right? Now, aiming for MLS directly. Now, I don't know if this is like we build it and then MLS comes, or we're talking and we know that behind the scenes there's a possibility of getting a team to move to Vegas, or maybe MLS is already committed or at least open to the idea of a soccer team in Vegas. Now, in terms of the geography, if you've been to Vegas, how many people have been to Vegas? Raise your hand right now. If you've been to Vegas, you never been to Vegas? Oh my gosh, Rob.
I'm not a gambler. Of all devices, gambling, not one.
No. You don't have to be a gambler to enjoy Vegas. Let me say that. But because I'm not either. I'm not a big gambler. I will sit down and play a couple of hands of blackjack or something, but that's not my move. I'm not a gambler. But Vegas is definitely worth it for the experience. If you've been to Vegas, you'll know. Okay, so see the gray area right next to Paradise, Rob? See where Paradise is?
Gray in Paradise, yes.
That's the airport, Rob. That gray spot below Paradise is the airport. Okay. And
Okay.
see, and right next to that, it says, "Welcome to fabulous Las Vegas" sign. You've seen that sign a million times
Sure.
in media, right? The strip, as you conceive it in your head, based on what you maybe have seen via video and movies and things, is north of that sign. North. MGM Grand is a good that's on the southern edge of the strip, if I remember my geography correctly. But kind of the strip is where the crossroad is, where it's the Spring Valley going to the east. That's where people think of when they think of Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Look at that red pin I dropped.
That's far.
That's where they want to build this billion-dollar development with a soccer stadium. Oh, and by the way, an NBA-ready arena of 25,000, expandable to 30, and a rooftop dome at the Big Vision Network Tower. I don't know what that is. Those are the three main points. I'm not saying this won't work. It's an insane idea. 10 billion, 6 billion, whatever billions to build three different venues and bring an MLS team, and that's the anchor. But again, if you're going to build something like this and you need a sports team as an anchor, it's got to be NBA, it's got to be soccer, because there's no the NFL team's already there. They got their building. I don't think baseball's coming to Vegas, at least not right now.
The Oakland A's
Hockey
thing,
team.
right?
You already got a hockey team. And in fact, I think the mayor is angling for a new arena that could house both the hockey team and a basketball team. But anyway, that's technically still Vegas, I guess, but it's way, way down there. So the only thing
looks like there's a highway that runs right down there, though.
Oh, that's basically so. Las Vegas Boulevard is where that pin is, and it runs due north south, right? And the sign is on Las Vegas Boulevard, runs right by the airport. MGM Grand is on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's to the right there, to the east of that interstate that runs to the heart of Vegas. So you're right. There's an interstate right there. In terms of what this might look like, there was an image attached to a story out of Las Vegas. I don't know. I don't know if that will. I don't know. Rob, I don't know. That is what am I looking at here? What is this? What am I looking at here?
This is a vivid imagination, I would say. And if this would be a feat of engineering and just like a wonder of the world if this became a reality, a moving glass wall that's like 100 to 200 yards
I would
wide.
just say, just be careful. If you need to consult with Jerry Jones, ask him about where the sun is and where your stadium is oriented, because you do not want to have a stadium sun problem. It does look like AI stuff.
You'd want that big glass part, facing the north end, right? I think hopefully stadium builders will learn not to have that facing west.
I mean, I would presume, yeah, I would guess that in Vegas especially. Man, I don't know. Look, again, this could just be like, hey, crazy stadium idea. We don't even know. Are these people over here watching the game down in the corner? They watching the game? Where are they? Is there a hill or something? What do we got? Stands up there? What's going on?
You don't know the famous hills of Las Vegas?
I mean, it's nuts what's going on in this picture. Okay, so let's ignore the picture. Should Vegas have an MLS team, Rob?
I won't say no to anyone getting more soccer. We are pro. What do you always say? We are pro more soccer being around, but there's already a team there, the Las Vegas Lights, playing in the USL. And I have received DMs, and I think there was some chatter in the Discord, the Morning Kicker on Discord, about some meetings with the Las Vegas Lights and this and that, and maybe they're trying to reach out and elevate them to the MLS level. So they do already have a team there, but I mean, that team
is rinky dink compared to anything.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that would be a huge glow up. But I also know that we've seen reports that the Vancouver mobility of that franchise situation, that I think this is a little bit of bait for that conversation as well.
Maybe. The current owner of the Las Vegas Lights is Jose Bautista, the former baseball player, Joey Bats, if you know his nickname. Great nickname. He, from what I am to understand, both sort of publicly and then obviously what maybe you hear behind the scenes, struggling a bit to figure it out in Vegas. Like, just not sure exactly where this is going for him, because turns out it's pretty tough to run a lower division soccer franchise in the United States and to also have them be competitive on the field. I'm just, you know, nothing comes easy in American soccer. But if
No.
you're not millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of what you're spending on your total project, yeah, you're going to find yourself struggling a bit. The Lights, 5 points from 6 matches, next to last in the Western Conference of the USL Championship. That doesn't mean they can't be an MLS team one day, but I actually don't expect maybe the current ownership of the Lights, including Jose Bautista, could be enticed to invest in a new MLS team in Vegas. And maybe even it would be like a San Diego FC situation or a St. Louis FC situation where that club has to shut down, which again, we don't advocate for clubs shutting down ever, but that club might have to shut down in order for an MLS team to come into town and do whatever the MLS team wants to do. But they're going to need big time money. And I don't just mean because, this stadium. I mean, apparently they've already got the $6 billion. I don't know how that project relates to the ownership of a potential MLS team. But look at what San Diego FC just spent to enter Major League Soccer, $500+ million to get off the ground. Now they have an audacious academy plan and all those things, but they didn't even build their own stadium. Right? They took up residence in a stadium that already existed that the city of San Diego built. This would be something completely different. And again, I don't know, man. It's just this idea is insane. And as much as I love big time stuff, and as much as I want soccer to matter in a truly relevant way in this country, you're gonna have to convince me that this can be real in ways that go more than just, oh, there's a website and there's a news item and there's a weird, wild rendering.
Yeah. For what's next, it seems like this project might be contingent on the NBA franchise going there, because from the reporting that I'm seeing, especially the local one, at least maybe that's just how they're angling the story, but it seems like the NBA awarding a franchise there would be a big catalyst for this turning from renderings into reality. And I'm curious, you were talking about, San Diego Loyal going away, and in St. Louis, when that MLS team, went away, does the IP and the branding and the cultural presence in Las Vegas, would it warrant the MLS team trying to brand themselves as the Lights, or would that just be a thing of the past?
No, and I'm sorry. Look, the
Portland Timbers were able to do that. Seattle were able to do that.
I can be very judgy about this, and I'll admit to that. I have this sense of like what I think is kind of, hokey and cheesy and what's not, and that's just my personal opinion, and I try not to foist that on other people as much as I can help it. And because of that, I want to believe that something can become normalized and accepted and embraced by a fan base over time, right? We can always point to Real Salt Lake. We can always point to Sporting Kansas City, who flipped from the Wizards, whatever. I mean, obviously, I was advocating for them to keep the Wizards at the time. They didn't, and now people have accepted the Sporting Kansas City name. They saw it as, we need to change our branding. Whereas Real Salt Lake, who entered the league in 2005, decided we're going to go with this name that doesn't make any sense, and nobody really understands why you have this name. And yet, if you ask RSL fans now, they would never want to change in a million years. So it can happen that sort of the less big time feel of a brand. And I don't think Las Vegas Lights feels big time. It just, that's me. And I don't want it to be Las Vegas FC either, Rob. So I don't know. There's got to be a middle ground there.
Yeah, definitely got to be something. But I like the kitschiness of, there's no other team called Lights, but at the same time, lightweight comes to mind whenever I hear that.
It's just kind of like it. I understand you want to have something that identifies the team as connected to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is that. Like, Las Vegas is glitzy and lights and neon and casinos and all those things. But man, you're gonna have to thread a needle there, because I just think, look at what LAFC did. Right? That to me is almost a perfect way to introduce a brand, to build something that seems cool, that gets people outside of your soccer community, your direct fan base, who are going to be there from day one, interested in what you're doing. Because now, if you're from LA, just the way that the Raiders hats became, or the Raiders colors became synonymous with LA for a while, not for always good reasons, but still, like, there is something to that cultural cachet. Like, and I think Boise's finding this in their very different market. Boise's doing that. And there are some other teams that have found a way to connect to people beyond soccer. And that's what Las Vegas would want to do.
Yeah. We'll see how that all plays out and see if these wild plans turn into reality. I'm thinking of, comes to mind, the Silverdome double-decker renderings kind of come to mind a little bit when we see this. But we'll see how this all plays out in Las Vegas and if they can make MLS happen in Sin City. And just one more point before we move on. It's interesting that this huge investment plan is coming at a time where I keep on seeing reports about less and less people going to Las Vegas and how they're struggling to fill the casinos and all the other attractions there in the last
but I mean, I think the idea here is that Vegas itself as a community where people live is growing, and this is for everybody who lives in Vegas. This wouldn't be a new casino that is meant to attract visitors, tourists. This is meant to be for Vegas. And again, whether you have enough appetite in Vegas for the NHL, the NBA, Major League Soccer, and the NFL kind of all at the same time, that's interesting. I don't know.